Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Majority Leader in the United States Senate is Senator John Thune of South Dakota. He's the first guest on the afternoon edition of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Senator Thune, Leader Thune, welcome. It's great to have you. Congratulations on assuming this. I hope it's not too much of a headache. Let's get rolling. Tell me about the Laken Riley Act, because I think a lot of Americans hope that passes quickly.
I hope it does too, Hugh. And by the way, welcome to the afternoon.
Thank you.
And congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Thank you. We're up against the Irish now. I hate this game because they're my favorite two teams, but of course the Buckeyes are first in the hearts of everyone.
Of course, I know they're first in your heart. So look, the Laken Riley's horrific murder is something that never should have happened. And she would still be with us today and would have turned 23 years old on Friday this last week. But the individual responsible was arrested not once but twice, released by authorities in New York before an ICE detention order could be issued. And the legislation is intended to make sure that never happens again. And I hope that as it relates to the process, Democrats agreed with us last week to get on the bill. And seems like they've changed their tune on this issue, and quite frankly, it's long overdue. But we should have passed this last year to ensure this kind of tragedy doesn't happen again, and I hope that we can get the votes this week to get it across the finish line.
Now, Senator, this takes 60 votes, correct?
It does, correct.
And so are you counting on finding 7 Democrats to actually help the Republicans pass a get tough on crime and illegal migration bill?
I hope so. I mean, I'm always I never put anything in bank when it comes to dealing with Democrats, but it seems like at least, Hugh, that they have concluded that they're on the wrong side of this issue. And, the only way this gets done at 60 votes is if we get some Democrats to vote for it. And we intend to put them on the record one way or the other. And if they want to defend criminals who are in this country illegally, who are committing criminal acts against American citizens, in this case a horrific murder, that's their decision to make. But I got to believe there are 7 Democrats out there that are going to end up voting with us and turn this into law.
Any doubt in your mind that President-elect Trump, when he becomes president on Monday, will sign it?
I believe he will. I have talked to him about it, and I think he's excited to do that.
Now, it's a complicated piece of legislation. I'm going to hone in on one thing, Senator, which is the ability of local governments impacted by these waves of migration to sue the federal government for failure to execute duty. I'm all in favor of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I would agree with you that it's an issue that has been raised in terms of some of the nuances of how this all works, but frankly, I think that we need this. I think these are authorities that are overdue, and I think, frankly, as we deal with some of these types of cases and these types of issues, if local governments are going to behave and act in this fashion, then there's got to be some transparency and some accountability for that.
Now, Senator, if I want to take you about confirmations and just globally, you don't know what's going on at everything in the Senate, but we have a whole raft of confirmations. Do you expect that the president-elect will get most, if not all, of his senior appointees within a couple of weeks?
I mean, I hope he gets them in a couple of weeks. I hope he does. I think he's going to get them. And the question is a matter of timing and how quickly we can move and get the Democrats to work with us. But I feel good about where we are, Hugh. I think the president's nominees, they've got a lot of confirmation hearings this week. We have, I think, 17 or so confirmation hearings for some of these noms. And once they're reported out of the committee, as soon as the president is sworn in, he has to sign the paperwork. He has to officially nominate these people. And then the committees, Senate committees that have held the confirmation hearings, can report them out to the floor once they're officially nominated by the president. And once they're ready for floor consideration, we'll go to work and try and confirm as many as we can, as quickly as we can. And again, I hope that the Democrats cooperate on this. And we ought to return to what is the Obama standard. And, Obama's first 12 nominees were confirmed in 15 days. And when Trump came to office, that number shifted. It was 42. took 42 days to get his first 12 through.
Wow.
So we need to get back to the Obama standard, and we're going to be pushing hard to get the Democrats to do that.
Now, Leader Thune, I want to switch to California. Right now, and there's a setup question. You're talking to LA on AM 870 to San Diego on 1170. I've got affiliates all across the Golden State. You know, it's lunch hour. It's right when they're out driving around and they're worried about the wind. The AM radio in every vehicle act did not make it out of the last Congress, but everyone's been listening to AM radio in Southern California around the clock because we're faster than television. Is that bill going to get back on the floor and passed?
I think it will. We reported it out of the Senate Commerce Committee last year, as you know, and it didn't make it across the floor. But we get this is a new Congress and new leadership, new majorities, and we're going to do everything we can to get that done. I think it's, as you point out, especially now, this is the time when people really are dialed in to their radios and times of a crisis in particular, and there are so many folks out there in California who need the news and information about, not only where to go, but also what's coming next. And so I hear what you're saying, and we'll do what we can to get that done.
Now, Senator, you're a man of the West, and you know Southern California pretty well. I'm broadcasting in Orange County today from Studio West instead of my normal posting inside the Beltway, and I'll be out here teaching law school for a while. This is beyond anything I've ever seen in America. It's just devastating. We have house guests who are refugees. Their house is not burned down. Came really, really close over the weekend, but it didn't burn down. A lot of people have lost everything. What does the Congress do in the aftermath of this? And I hope it's not just send money. I want strings attached to fix the local, state, and regional governments, which are completely failed here. What do you think the federal Congress and president can do?
Well, I mean, first off, as you point out, our heart goes out to families, those who died, thousands of people who've lost their homes. It is devastating to watch, and all I'm seeing, Hugh, is images on television. They tell me people who are on the ground out there that it's way worse, but it looks like it looks like Hiroshima. It's just it's really, really devastating and so hard to observe and watch, and I'm sure if you're somebody in California, experience. So it's horrible. Leaders need to take a serious look at what went wrong, what they can do to prevent it in the future. But in the meantime, we got to figure out how to get people recovered and back on their feet. And I agree with you. I think that it's important that as we think about this, we just did in December $110 billion in disaster relief funding, including $29 billion for FEMA. So there's some funding in place to help with this initial response. And then we need to take assessment of, what the need is going to be and what's the best way of ensuring that that gets covered, people get made whole, but but we understand exactly what the role of the different levels of government should be. And certainly, first and foremost, California is on the front lines of this, and I would expect they'll take the lead role, and we'll find out. We hear it's some numbers coming out of there, but we just don't know the assessment yet. And when we do, hopefully we'll be able to better react to that.
I'm going to keep Senator Thune for 5 more minutes, and I'll replay it on the other side. But this is California's Chernobyl. It is stripped away, like Chernobyl did to the Soviet Union, the rot in the California state and local government system. And there are things the federal government can do under the spending power which are perfectly acceptable. I'm going to ask Senator Thune one question after the break, which I'll open the next segment with. Don't go anywhere, America. Stay tuned. I'm Hugh Hewitt. That's the Majority Leader John Thune on the Hugh Hewitt Show. I am back with Majority Leader John Thune. Leader Thune, you know from South Dakota, because South Dakota has endangered species issues, that we've got the Endangered Habitats League, we've got the Center for Biological Diversity, we've got the Coastal Sage Scrub Conservancy, the Sea and Sage Audubon, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, the Spirit of the Sage Council. We've got 1,000 groups that don't want to do fire prevention, and they argue it's endangered species. Do you think you can look at, because you actually know about this stuff coming from South Dakota, suspending or consolidating or expediting Doug Burgum's role in forest management and ecological management so this doesn't happen again?
We have to, Hugh, and so Burgum will have a role in that, as will Brooke Rollins, Department of Agriculture, interestingly enough, has jurisdiction over the Forest Service. But you're right. I mean, we've dealt with this in South Dakota, and there are groups out there that just want to let it burn. And, we take active forest management pretty seriously given the threat that's posed to a lot of our communities. And you can't, completely prevent fires from starting, but proper management can greatly limit their intensity and their ability to spread quickly. And we have in South Dakota a great example of the state management. It's called Custer State Park, and it stands sort of side by side with the national forest, and have just such different experience because in Custer State Park, the state of South Dakota manages it in a way that prevents a lot of the fuel loads that contribute to these fires that get out of control. You're so right. There's a common sense way to do this, a way that considers the multiple uses that some of our forests have, and this obsession that folks on the left have with just letting it burn and letting nature take its course is incredibly costly, as we're seeing every day in California.
So the follow-up on that, there's a famous Supreme Court case I teach every year to my students, South Dakota versus Dole. And it's, hey, South Dakota and every other state, you don't get any federal revenue for highways unless you raise the drinking age to 21. That's a constitutional use of the spending power. I would like to see the spending power deployed that the Coastal Commission, among others, Regional Water Quality Control Board, CARB, there are 1,000 agencies out here, that they're neutered. They have to step back. They've turned this into an ungovernable state. Now, that's not easily done, but do you think someone will look into it on your team?
Absolutely, and I think that these are issues that are going to continue to get litigated, but somebody's got to be bringing these cases. But we have watched and observed far too often, far too frequently, what happens when you have bad management and bad governance built around a set of assumptions that don't fit with the real world. And I think that bringing common sense and an acceptance of reality and what's worked and practices that have been employed in the past that actually get good results is what we ought to be focused on. And I'm hoping that with the new administration, we will see an aggressive role by the leaders in those key departments, as you mentioned, and with us in Congress, working with them to try and bring a new approach, an approach that's grounded in reality and not in somebody's ideology.
Majority Leader Thune, thank you. I look forward to talking to you often as we drive people home from work. Thank you, Senator. Back to the floor with you. No time to lose.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.